It's 5:01, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. Trish, would you like to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
We could all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a proclamation for Black History Month. Mr. Phillips, I'm so glad that you were able to attend. And the proclamation says, whereas 234 years ago, our founding fathers wrote the United States Constitution, whose preamble states, "We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our prosperity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. And whereas the United States of America has made significant progress towards a more perfect union, this process has not come all at once, and our country still strives to establish justice, welfare, liberty, and tranquility for all. Whereas on February the 3rd, 2021, the Presidents of the United States called on the American people to honor the history and achievements of Black Americans during Black History Month. Whereas during Black History Month, Anastasia Mosquito Control District is committed to celebrating the many achievements and contributions made by the Black employees to AMCD and local communities. Now therefore, the Board of Commissioners of the Anastasia Mosquito Control District, St. Johns County, does hereby support and proclaim February as Black History Month, and further in celebration of this month anniversary, we urge all employees with their family, friends, co-workers, and neighbors to participate in the celebration. In witness thereof, unto we set our hands and do cause the seal of the Anastasia Mosquito Control District to be affixed this 10th day of February in the year of our Lord 2022. And Rudy, did we not have a copy to present to Mr. Phillips?
Yeah, that's the copy.
It's this
Yeah.
copy
Yeah.
goes to Mr. Phillips?
Yeah,
Mr.
I'm presenting,
Phillips,
can I take a picture here?
Yeah, if you'll come up, we will
So,
present this one to you. I thought we had it in some roll something or other, but maybe.
I'll start it there.
So you can take a picture of this.
Yeah, okay.
It's nice meeting you again. I haven't seen you in a long time. Right. I need to get down there and go through the museum.
I think it'd be pleasant
But
to
this
surprise.
is a copy that you guys can hang or put in your file or whatever.
Thank you so much.
At the museum.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so, thank you. You know, our first employee was
George
Mr.
Penn.
Pitts.
Yeah,
I know you guys gave us a resolution about him.
Yeah, we were
Last year, I think.
last
Right,
year.
yeah. And, I was probably one of the only commissioners that really ever met him, because he was in social work and I helped get him in-house care, and he was still alive. He was very old then. So, but he's a really nice guy. And he talked about this to me.
I love it.
We love that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My pleasure.
You know.
I'm gonna have to get back to work.
You got work to do, I know, the work never stops.
But let me go do that. I
Thank
wanna keep
you.
a copy of that.
Okay. And if anybody has cell phones except for Kay, if you could silence them, I would appreciate that. We need to make note that Commissioner LeBlanc, Commissioner Becker, Commissioner Gardner, and Commissioner Mueller are here. Kathy, Commissioner Brandhurst is absent. Are there any citizen items not on the agenda for citizen participation that anyone wants to bring up? Seeing none, I'm moving on.
Is Mr. Flowers supposed to call in?
Mr. Flowers is supposed to call in. He may be having some difficulty with that. He is home because he has COVID and can't come out of isolation until Monday. We also have Compass coming. They sent us an email and said they were running late because of traffic. So what I would like to do is put their agenda item off until they get here. So we could start with Dana if no one cares about that. So I need an approval of the agenda. That would be the only correction that we would have, is to move Dana first. So
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Gail moved to approve it. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And Commissioner LeBlanc, second. And now I need an approval of the consent agenda.
We need a vote.
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Approval of the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Commissioner Gardner made the motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Commissioner LeBlanc, second. All in favor? And Dana, can you go ahead with your report?
Yes, ma'am. Is this the PowerPoint?
Well, he has two of them.
Or they can just go together.
Yeah, he has two, so if we,
They're kind of together.
so if they're together, then you have longer than 10 minutes for your
Okay,
first
and
one.
This is going to be down and dirty, and I can't explain. Try, and I would assume that one comes down too? Yep. That'll be the slides they look at? Yes. Okay. We are going to give you a 20-month update, and there's a couple of things in particular. I'm going to try and go in a little consecutive order so that it makes sense, and it's going to summarize where we started, where we're at, and what the plan is from the future so that the guidance can be passed along. So as of
The back screen didn't come down, but I guess we can all turn around.
yeah, that would be fine if you're comfortable with that.
We can just,
Okay.
oh, here it comes.
Needed Richard's magic touch.
And if I get in the way of the slides, I'll rotate back and forth. I'm trying to catch the slide, catch the mic, and catch questions. Okay, so we're looking at, I've been here 20 months, just under 2 years. And how do you rotate this thing? Which one's the next slide, bud?
The down arrow of that one
Okay.
will move you forward. I know that's,
Okay, where am I pointing?
you don't have to point anywhere, just push the down arrow. And if you want the pointer, it's that one right
All right,
there.
it's not moving.
That's your pointer. Oh, it'll be help if I turn it on for you. There's
Okay.
your pointer, there's your.
All right, next slide. Here's what we've got as far as personnel. All right, Dr. Pepper, one of our scientists, comes down every once in a while when we get a pinch. And I'm going to go from left to right. Mike, our other pilot, our CFI. Now, 20 months ago, Mike was a pilot. He was a Robinson pilot. He is now a 206 pilot, qualified in our aircraft. He is goggle qualified. He has earned 100 hours of spray time. And he also has a drone license. So we have made great progress in the actual crew down there. Steven's our middle guy next to me. He's one of the guys from the surveillance team that helps us load and kind of helps where we come and go in some of the areas we tackle. There's me with my nice shiny head in the middle. I'm your maintenance test pilot, chief pilot, manager, and responsible for everything. Morgan is in the surveillance program currently, and he's also one of our loaders, not only with the NALID, the DIBRM, but the dry. We've got 2 dry. So depending on the mission, Morgan and Steven are our big go-to people for the loading. And then Ralph, our AMPIA, and I've got to talk very briefly about that IA ticket that he has. To work on an aircraft, you have to have an airframe and power plant license given to you by the FAA. Once a year, because FAA, FDAX, EPA, everybody's kind of looking at maintenance and operations of aviation, you have to do what's called an annual. And it takes an IA ticket to sign that annual. It's a piece of paper in the logbook. Having 3 Bell 206s, this would cost us about $45,000, 15 grand per airframe once a year. So by Ralph having and maintaining his IA ticket, he's learning about the Bell 206s. He's getting better with the helicopters. He's got a lot of fixed wing experience, but he also signs off our IA, our annuals as an IA. So I need to point out that that ticket is a very valuable license to have. Myself, Mike, Morgan, and Ralph all have UAS licenses, which are ground known as the drone licenses. So we're kind of putting papers and stuff together to move into the drone program when it's ready. All right, the equipment on hand. Not only the hangar and the tank and the big items that you know about, but there's stuff that we've organized that we take care of on a monthly, quarterly, or annually basis. And each one of these got an SOP with a little help from Rich, who's not here to take credit for some of this stuff. But the hangar, the tank, the tug, AMCD bought to pull the aircraft in and out of. We go over that monthly, air pressure, oil, water, you change the oil, stuff like that, regular maintenance on that, the golf cart. 2 dollies, we have 2 aircraft dollies, one we signed for from the sheriff's office. That's about $10,000 we got for nothing. Various hand tools. We've got certain hand tools out there that Ralph has to use for the maintenance that he does, some that he has several toolboxes of his own, but some that are particular to these, and we pick them up, but we have a roster where we keep track of them, and we can inventory them as we need them. The communications equipment, we have Sonetics headsets so that the crew can talk. We have VHF radio so that the ground can talk to the air. And we have handheld VHFs that actually allow all of this to go back. Our recovery trailer, this is something we bought from the Army. We paid about $10,000 for it. We used it to recover 7.4 Mike from the golf course. We've used it to pick the helicopter that is now in the museum up from Panama City. We then used it again to take it to the paint shop, and today we used it again. I can promise you, at minimum, each one of those moves would have cost us $7,000 to $8,000. So that thing's already paid for itself. And this is the kind of stuff that I tried to bring with my experience. The goggles, the MBGs, we fly with the DIBRM flying goggles. They're $14,000 a hit. We send them off once or twice a year for inspection. So this is all stuff that we take care of down there. All right, our first helicopter, 874 Mike. It was available for flight 136 days out of 365, which is a 37% operational readiness rate. That means how many times can I go out there and hop in that thing, pull the trigger, and start it? Part of it was when I first got here, it was in an annual that ran into March. So the first 2 or 3 months, we were still figuring out what Lee County had done and what we were going to do to maintain it. And we had 3 different spray systems on this. The other part about that one is the whole... That's Wayne Flowers. Speaker.
Hey Wayne, hang on, I'm gonna get you on the speaker. All right, can you hear?
I can.
Okay, we are switched around because Compass is gonna be 30 minutes late, so, Dana is talking right now, and then we'll go to Compass.
Okay. This was the first aircraft we got from Lee County. We had the 3 systems on it. It's got tall skids, the AgNav. We used the DIBRM tank, the liquid larvicide, and the DIBRM tank. So there's 3 tanks with this one. And I will get a little bit into the tanks here in a second with the cost savings. All right, the initial budget that I was handed to acquire the second helicopter, if you look at the top, it was $450,000. Now, if we go back, we put in a bid to the Army for $180,000, and the board at that time voted to get 2. So we subtract the 180 times 2 from the 450, that left us about $90,000. There was a lot of stuff we had to do to those two aircraft to get them FAA compliant, not being Army helicopters anymore. Your ELTs, they're emergency transmitter locators. They go off when you crash, okay? The paint, it's $55,000 to paint a helicopter, give or take. We just painted the orange blue and we shopped around, so the paint for both of them was about $4,000 and change. So we saved a ton of money there. The tall skids on 569 crumpled me up, and I trusted what they said from Dart, the company that made them, and it cost me a little time because what they told me over the phone, part numbers, didn't work when we started putting it together. So that cost me a little time. And then there was some, the isolair rack for the belly tank. Two of the systems require a rack. One is on 569, the other's on 74 Mike. One does dry, one does wet. There's no way to get around not buying that rack from Isolair. It was a sole source item. And he said, we have one on the shelf, meaning put it in the mail and come, and 48 days later, we got the rack, so it wasn't on the shelf. Everything seems to be a little bit fabricated when it comes to the time. We did a little sheet metal work on 569, adding metal plugs and modifying things to be able to hold the rack properly. So out of the $450 to buy one helicopter, you got two ready to spray, FAA compliant, and we're still $20,000 ahead. I was very proud of that. There's a lot of shopping there. There's 569, okay? This is Mosquito 2. We owned this helicopter for 306 days of the 365 last year. It was available for flight 84% of the time. We flew it a total of 83 hours. Part of the time we didn't fly this one more is because the skids got hung up in customs, and we didn't get the tank on it in time. So I was a little late starting the season last year. Even though I'm responsible for it, I can't fight with customs. Time is time. This was the first one we picked up, and it's currently outfitted with our dive-room tank. We added the tall skids, and that dolly in this picture is the dolly we got from the sheriff's office. 442, this is the one we use for a lot of odd and end stuff. You'll notice it has short skids and no spray system on it. This one was available 281 days of the 365. We had this one the whole calendar year. It had a 77% operational readiness rate, and we flew it a total of 93.1 hours. It's set up for everything that's on there. I mean, we try and be a county asset to the people that need, a state asset to the parks that Morgan and Stephen keep track of. Erosion, we've flown, and I can't remember her name, Aslan? The young lady that's setting up our movies for the helicopter in the Science Center. You know, this is the helicopter. Ma'am, I believe you've been in this one. I think I've flown two of y'all in 442. It's a great airplane. It really is. This is our third of the three. Now, this may get a little confusing, and if I'm going too quick, roll me back. Now, when the Army got rid of the helicopters, after the last helicopter sold, they started consolidating the parts that they had for these particular helicopters, this airframe. It's like a Ford, Chevy, or a Dodge. These are the parts. So what I did was I watched online, made a lot of phone calls, and when something came available that I knew based on my experience in helicopters we could or will use as a matter of when, I tried to get it. Sometimes I won, sometimes I didn't win. It's almost like eBay. The fuel cell. We paid $22,031 for it. If we bought that from Bell, it would have been $16,000. So there's a huge savings. The digital HSI indicator, yes ma'am?
On here it says 2,000. Is it 22,000 or 2,000?
No, 2031.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we would have paid 16 if we ordered it from Bell. We paid $2,000 for it. And it's not a rebuilt one. This is a brand new, unopened in the box one. Okay, the digital HSIs, this is a compass that goes in conjunction with a couple of the radios. These are about $26,000 a piece. I got 3 of them for $15,000. It would have cost us $77,000. We've already used one. Vidmar cabinets, and we're going to get a little more into these. The first 2 Vidmar cabinets that had nuts and bolts and washers in it, this is what we call bench stock or PLL in my world. These all had drawers with stuff in it, so I paid $290 for those, and I guess that the value of the stuff in it was about $18,000 worth of stuff. We bought a gearbox and a compressor. These are parts that when the engine goes, these are the 2 that fail the most often. They're each $100,000 if you buy one off the shelf. If I say, hey, Miss K, I need a gearbox, she's going to get on and start shopping for it. She's going to come in at $90,000. So for $24,100, I got a gearbox and a compressor, both needing a little work, but I knew this, and I knew what they needed. We got 2 batteries, some windshields. The next one, 11 more Vidmar cabinets, so there was 11. Then I bought 2 vertical fins. The tail of the aircraft, that vertical thing that stands up and down, if you land hard, the first thing to bend is the vertical fin. So having a couple of those is always a good idea. I got 1 set of horizontals, and these are the things that go out sideways on the helicopter. They're $11,000, $12,000 a piece. I paid $7,000 for that, plus the stands that hold that tail boom for $7,000. I almost say we stole that. The next one is the one I'm most proud of, is that yellow tag engine. If we lose an engine, and I'll be honest with you, this flying here, I heard horror stories about directors and boards and counties and money to keep these things flying. That engine right there, if I said, hey, Miss Kay, we need a bolt-in ready engine, she's looking at about $340,000. The engine that we have has an enhanced compressor. So the $190,000 the board gave me, if we just got that engine, we doubled our money. Okay, so I am ready to bolt an engine in a helicopter and drive on. The tail boom and another vertical fin, $14,000. The tail boom by itself was $93,000. With a spraying Dibram eats up everything. It is a matter of time. I'm gonna guess maybe 5 years, 6 years before the tail end fails the void inspection and we have to take it off and throw it away. I have a tail boom, horizontals, and a vertical. I need a couple of $1,000s to paint it and a week, and we're back in the air for another 5 or 6 years, and not at the prices that are in the right-hand column. Now, this particular pallet, I know it looks a little busy, and I might as well go to the bottom right in the yellow. The total value, I spent $190,000, $331, so just $300 over what we were authorized. The value that we have in the hangar now is a little over $1.2 million. Okay, so for $190,000, I put $1.2 million worth of stuff in the hangar. The top red, the starters. Starters are timed items. They go out. When you lose a starter, you're down for maybe 2 months. I have 4 or 5 of them now. I don't agree with the Army on the transmission. The transmission, they valued at $219,000. I think the transmission's right around $55,000. Now it's due for a sun gear inspection. So we're gonna plan on sending the transmission off for an overhaul, but we have an engine ready to bolt in, and we will have a transmission ready to bolt in. This is gonna keep this program going for 20 years with these airframes. The next one, the Vidmars. I bought 8 more Vidmars. I have a total of 22 Vidmar cabinets, and I got a picture. The radios, the VHF radios, they're ungodly, and that's gonna save us money in the long run, getting VHF radios repaired. We budget particularly for avionics. That's gonna save us avionics money for the next 3 or 4 years, just because of the way they go. The yellow boost pump, power turbine governors, the TOT gauge, the Diamond J, that's probably a $12,000 gauge that they marked was not working, meaning we have to send it off and get it fixed. So I called the company. The company was like, wait, what do you mean it's 7 degrees off? That means the Army said it's 7 degrees off, they took it out, they put another one in, and they go back to flying a student. He said, do you have this in one of your other helicopters? And I was like, yeah. He said, go plug it in. And if it goes through function 1, 2, 3, 4, it's not the gauge, it was the wiring harness that gauge was in. So we have a $12,000 gauge that they wrote off as broken, and it's not. And I have a stack of gauges. Each one of these gauges, the fuel quality indicator, the transmission temperature and pressure, the N1, the torque, each one of these gauges is valued at $10,000, $12,000. You know, they're maybe $1,500, $1,800 to overhaul 3 or 4 of them, because I just sent 3 off for 569 as it's coming into the annual. And then there's some other stuff. The maintenance ladder I'd like to highlight because it's a huge ladder that has legs that we can climb up on the side of the helicopter. They valued it at $4,000, and I would disagree with that. I think that's probably, if we bought that outright from a ladder company, it would have probably been more close to 12. You know, but we scored on this particular pallet. All right, there's my engine. Bolt-in ready, 4 pieces. If you start from this side with the gray, this side with the gray, there's your compressor, the next little skinny piece. Which one is the buzzer?
Very top button.
Very top button. This is the compressor. Okay, so that's a $90,000 part. This is the gearbox. That's a $90,000 part. This is the turbine, and this is the combustion can. So all four of those pieces put together and bench tested is 400, a lot of money. So we have not only an engine, but we have an extra compressor, and we have an extra gearbox. Here's your VidMars. Okay, some of them are a couple across and a couple down. Others are only 4 across and 4 down. But this particular picture shows all of them lined up. Every time you order an O-ring, and the O-rings say 50 cents, it may be you have to order 25. Okay? Then you have to pay for shipping. And I'm sure Ms. Kay can jiggle and laugh at the shipping. But we just saved millions on nuts, bolts, and washers. We saved millions on shipping. And right now, we have developed a plan that our auditor has come out and looked at all of this and how we've implemented this as far as tracking goes. Instead of buying a program on a computer, we have an Excel spreadsheet that has each one of those drawers with what's in it, roughly how many. I mean, I didn't sit there and count 600 washers, but we kind of swagged. But each one is in there. And now Ralph, when he needs something, can go type Control F, look the part number up, it's there, and he can go right back to work. So we will be saving on these VidMars for the next 20 years. Okay, so what we did in 2020, 119,000 acres, 1,119 of XRG and just under 250 in sustain. And this is dry larvicide. 2021, 376 acres. The season for that aircraft started a little bit late, and then it was my fault. We lost it from August until now. But we are looking at being ready to not only spray Dibram, but also the dry larvicide, probably March or April. Some of the pieces and parts and coming together as the test flights go. I personally would like to say 31 March, but I don't know if I can meet that just yet. It's going to be close, but we're going to be well ready for the season, better than we were last year, and way better the first year I got here. We're ready to go, and everybody knows what to do. The adulticide, in 2020, we hit 27,000 acres. In last year, 2021, 58,000 acres. And I'm only short in 2021 based on the skids getting hung up in customs. I lost 45 days of potential spray time there, and I'm still angry about that. Okay, so this year, I'm hoping to blow 65,000 acres out of the water. But again, it's based on science, and it's based on mission need as far as the spots and the buffers and what we're going to do. But we're ready this year. Now, this is where I think the board's going to be interested. All right, the annual cost in a plan. Everybody wants to know, what's it going to cost me? And it's very hard to explain why it's going to cost and what. So starting this year, I took how many gallons of gas we had, and we're going to calendar it, January to December, no season to no season. We're going to track each gallon of fuel. Our predicted maintenance costs, our overhaul and replacement, everything on those helicopters is timed either by machine work or by calendar. It takes time to build this paperwork. You got logbooks and engine logbooks. We have built short sheets on all 3 of these aircraft, so now we can go through and we can see what's coming due when. For example, 442 has 248 hours left on the tail rotor hub before it needs to come off and get overhauled. Well, guess what? 2022, I'm going to fly 100 hours. 2023, I'm going to fly 100 hours. So in November, December of 2023, I can tell you, based on timing and experience, October of 2023's budget going into 2024, we're going to budget for that tail rotor overhaul. So it's going to get a little bit better with a little more time. So buy the airframe, and now I got to talk about the 50 hours. Okay, for example, when we only had 7.4 mic and we were spraying 3 different chemicals, say I have dry chemical over on Conch Island and I sprayed 49 hours. We haven't moved into any maintenance that's required. Now let's go over to 569 and spray Dibram for 48 hours. Again, no maintenance costs. If we were flying 7.4 mic and switching the tanks, you're losing 3 days by switching the tanks, and now you've flown through a 50 hour and you're going to be into a 100 hour. So the maintenance at the 50 hour has not been met. It's not at the threshold of the 50 hours. So by spreading these systems over the aircraft, it will be cheaper in the long run. And now that Michael and I both have 100 hours of spray time, instead of taking off and flying over the woods, we can go direct, because now we're legal to fly over congested areas, so our fuel cost should come down a little bit. There's a lot of little nuances going in there, but my plan is to maintain the annual data for 3 years, and that will give you a very accurate budget. This year coming up, I know Scott's gonna be so much more happy with my numbers, because I will have something to build off of. How much do we fly? Do we fly 200 hours per airframe? Do we fly 50 hours per airframe? What does the airframe look like with what it has on it? Then I can give you numbers. Well, nobody knows, because it's based on science. But we will have a 3-year average in 3 years, and it'll be a little easier. But this is all data we have to compile based on the flying that we're doing. Let me go over the compressor and the gearbox. All right, the compressor, if we bought the compressor new, we'd probably pay somewhere around $93,000. I bought one that I know needed repair. So we sent it off for an evaluation so we could get our bids, and this is all work that we're doing. And the guy said, look, I can repair it for $8,000. I'm like, score. He says, but you're 200 hours from overhaul. I'm like, ooh. So we put $12,000 into that compressor, but we're probably gonna put $50,000 into it to overhaul it, and then it's good for another 3,000 plus hours. So until I get through the annuals, and we budgeted for this last year, because I knew these parts were coming in, but the goal is that October of this year, every part we have, minus the fuel control, because there's limits on that stuff. You can't overhaul it until it's ready to go on. Because if you overhaul it and then you don't use it, you have to overhaul it again. But everything else, the goal for this year is to have everything ready to bolt on. So next year, the 250 that we budgeted for, we shouldn't have to budget for. We'll be able to more specifically budget for specific items. Now that doesn't say something's not gonna break. And we just found a bolt that holds the rotor blade onto the head has failed, so we have to order another one. Unplanned maintenance is still gonna catch us, but we'll be able to control it a little bit better. This is a short sheet, and it might be easier to read. Each one of my aircraft has one of these. The inlets, the engine inlets, is basically the air filters like a K&N, the yoke assembly, the main rotor hub. This is the timed item in the left column. The part number, some of them have serial numbers, which we do an annual serial number scrub on these things. The allowed time, when it got installed, and then over on the far right column, you'll see the green time. How much time is left before we have to replace it? We scored on these two aircraft, so come on down to the yellow on the far right column, 248 hours. I'm looking at a tail rotor overhaul, that's a couple $1,000, that's nothing. And then it's good for another 2,500 hours. Okay, I can promise you, looking at some of these TH67s that other people have bought, right now there's one sitting down at Tomlinson Air that he's doing some maintenance on, and I was asking some questions about it. The guy that bought that, he might as well have everything in that right column yellow. And when you start looking at blades and an engine and a gearbox and all this stuff, all the good stuff's gone. So he's looking at buying it all from Bell. So this is a time-consuming project that produces a product to help us budget with what's going to actually go on. Like, for example, this year, for 7.4 Mike, now, I think in the board books there was a little list of what was going on with it. I think we're down to putting the rotor head back on. That's coming back tomorrow. I'm hoping to pull the trigger on that thing and see if we can start it next week. 442 needed tension torsion straps this year, a yoke tube, and a fuel control overhaul, and that was the subject of the board a little while ago. So we got the fuel control overhauled, and it was $9,000. It wasn't the 17. So you've got a variance. One guy wants 13, one guy wants 7, but until they get it apart, they don't know. And I argued with him because he gave me a quote of like $8,000, and then it came in at 9,400. I was like, But he said, well, the bearing went up. There's nothing I can do about it. So 569 also needs TT straps, and whoever overhauled the freewheeling unit for that thing, they put a clutch that only had 150 hours. So I've been shopping around trying to find a company that will just replace the clutch for $3,000. That's the cost of the clutch, and not overhaul the whole thing. And there's a couple people that'll do it. Normally they want to overhaul everything, but there's only 100 hours on the freewheeling unit now. So this is where I can save you money. It's got to be done. But Normally, somebody would say, well, just go overhaul it, and you're looking at 30 grand, you're like, what? So, I promise I'm watching out for your pennies. Flight training. We're looking at doing flight training again this year. This year, both Mike and I need check rides. Every 2 years, you have to have a check ride for the FAA. We'll do again our emergency procedure training, our advanced emergency procedure training, which is basically engine failure at super low levels. It's very hard to find someone that will come ride the helicopter to the ground after failing the engine at 100 feet. They won't do it. Scott Lunsford, the guy in the middle, he will. He'll come ride with us in our aircraft, and I am very much train like you fight. It's very simple to say, oh, go to Bell and go fly their stuff. Well, it's a different helicopter, it's a different setup, it's a different startup procedure, it's in a different area with different temperatures. Michael and I train in our aircraft at our mission profile, and I very wholeheartedly believe that we are prepared for the worst, should it happen.
Is that the gentleman that trained you and you were able to recover the aircraft
It is.
during our incident? So
It
it's
is.
important to continue that.
Yes, well, thank you, ma'am, I appreciate that. But we'll hit our 137 maneuvers. We're a public use, but in the FAA or the FAR, it says, look, do these for ag spray. So we go through those maneuvers. It's a little above and beyond, but it's a smart thing to do. What do you do to keep this program safe? This is what we do. Rolls-Royce School. I'd love to get Ralph to Rolls-Royce School, but they only had one this year, and I'm hoping as COVID quiets down, they may have another one when it's a little not so hectic for us. After going to Bell School, learning about the Bell stuff, the Rolls-Royce is the engine specific. So he's doing well. He's learning a lot. I know it's overwhelming and I'm pretty intimidating, but he's keeping them going in a good manner. I initially budgeted to go to Bell School, and I thought it might be a good idea to work with Scott every year, and then every other year, Michael and I would go to get what they call factory training. Bell sold the 206 training. They're pushing very, very hard for everybody to buy the new 505. I've already heard it's a piece of junk. So we don't get to go to the Bell Academy anymore, and I don't feel comfortable telling my boss or saying to this board, yeah, we need to drop $15,000 so I can fly to Arizona and fly 4 hours, when I know with Scott, in 4 days, I'm gonna do 100 autos. And I think that's more pertinent. So initially we scheduled, but it's not gonna happen. All right, here's where we get to brag a little bit. All right. The team was in Wing Beats, volume 32. Rotor Magazine in September 2021, and Aero Images, which was an online, and I'm going to show you a couple of pictures. Our upcoming plans, probably using Helicopter 442, is going to be our school visits and career days. Right now, myself and Taylor are trying to coordinate with a high school that we're going to 2-for-1, try and recruit and try and get out there. So maybe we'll start filling the pool for summertime people, see what we can do about having a few more people available for employment. There's kids out there that are going to love to work Monday through Friday, no nights, no weekends. Like, you know, I grew up at Publix, it was Friday, Saturday night. So I think with a little bit of recruiting background, we're going to be able to do that. Our hangar tours, I love when people come to the hangars. Our part-time recruiting, we just talked about that. We got our first one in March. This is what went in the Wing Beats magazine. It was an ad from Derek for Daimler. And there's myself and Mike and Ralph with 7-4 Mike. This is the Rotor magazine that we happen to be in, and that's Randy. He's a very big instructor pilot down in the South area, and a gentleman out of Arizona contacted me and said, hey, I'm doing some articles for Rotor magazine on mosquito control. He says, you know, what do you know about it? And I was like, are you coming onto the East Coast? So in this particular magazine, there's about 12 or 13 mosquito controls in the back. And I will brag right here, because the one thing that we display that nobody else did is, if you look at the back on the tail boom, it says mosquito control. Stevie Wonder could read that from the ground. Okay, none of the other helicopters say mosquito control, so I was very proud of that, and we're actually spraying oil for that. Mike is flying at 442 above. That's myself and Morgan, and it was a great picture. He took a few more. That's right out in our back 40. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead. There's another one in the little training area we go to right over here where they fly drones sometimes. That's a beautiful picture. I mean, you can see mosquito control, you can see the Anastasia, and if there's any question about who we are, where we're doing, if you can't see that 69F, I can't help you. I was pretty proud of that picture. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, and there's one rolling around.
Were these all in the Rotor magazine, or
There was a couple in the Rotor magazine, but the guy that took the pictures forwarded all of these to me.
it'd be great to get some of those blown up and hung up in the hangar.
Well, I have them. Yeah. Waited a long time for this one. National champs have finally beat Alabama. And at this point, I think I've summarized, almost 2 years worth of work, kind of where we are, what we have done, and we being the crew, all of those guys at the beginning with the organization and the assistants and the maintenance and the typing and the washing and waxing, this is where we are. So at this point, I would love to answer any questions, if you have any.
Also, you need to update about the insurance process.
Oh, on 7-4 Mike, the insurance process for 7-4 Mike itself. Right now, I am in contact with our insurance carrier, okay, has an adjuster, Skip. And Skip comes out, when I ask, he's been out twice. We just got the engine back for 7-4 Mike. The engine is in. The little pieces and parts are going on it. The blades are going on it, hopefully tomorrow. And like I said earlier, I'm hoping to be able to pull the trigger and start it. As soon as we get that thing to run, I will be able to close out with the insurance company. So right now we're just at about $200,000 spent. We have recovered $115,000, the cost of the blades to get them delivered to us. We have a $20,000 deductible, which would be on AMCD, but with the pieces and parts, all those little PLL cabinets, and the hourly rate that the insurance company pays for the repair, we have about $12,700 of that $20,000 deductible eaten into. And by the time it's over, I can comfortably say there'll be at least another $2,000 or $3,000. So if we spend $200 to get the helicopter fixed, we should get $180,000 from the insurance, but that doesn't count the parts that we had on hand, the mechanic that we're paying. They have to pay $65 an hour. So Ralph has to track every 5-minute increment he's on 7-4 Mike. So I'm hoping, and this is a very, if everything goes right, if we start the thing next week or possibly the week after, we should be able to close out with the insurance and recover everything AMCD has put out to fix that thing, to include over half of the deductible. So I'm whittling the deductible down, as Skip has told me to do, keep records of this, 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 and this. I mean, down to the point where I'm shopping for parts, that time is counted. So it's getting close.
Very good.
Very good, yes.
Does anyone have questions? Comments? Commissioner Becker.
I just want to let the board know, as somebody, I was a mechanic and I worked on European cars, Mercedes, Rolls-Royce, and English cars. And I can't tell you the amount of labor, money, time that's spent looking for little parts. And when I first saw those cabinets, I was more excited about the cabinets than anything else, because I know exactly. I mean, when you lose one bolt and one O-ring, that's like 2 hours of time you're looking for something. That stuff adds up. So having a really organized system, a file system that can really not only withstand now, but can, with you putting it on Excel, we're talking a lot of money being saved just from, entering, and then do we have this part? Do we got to order that part? Now we can predict, we're going to need that. And so I can't thank you enough for all the blood, sweat, and tears you put into this aerial program, because I know that you're doing it not only for right now, but to leave a legacy behind. And
It's a great program. I hope it's here forever. So, and if I can, Rich, can I steal some of your thunder? On that one particular pilot, there was some air conditioning units that go in some of the different helicopters. They were brand new. We valued at $6,200 if you bought it from Colorado. I talked to Rich. We put it out on the excess, and everything went out on that. So if I really wanted to toot a horn here, we took $40,000 worth of air conditioners that we can't use and went and got that helicopter. So we traded. So the 190 you gave me actually is about 150, and I still have the 1.2 million. So we still have some excess stuff out there. So that helicopter out there we got for nothing.
And I saw that helicopter today. It looks really, really good.
I just drove and picked it up. He did it all.
He got the helicopter. I was so grateful that he busted his butt and got it. I mean, honestly, that saved my life.
And James did a really good job with the back end of a truck, so
Beautiful, isn't it?
it's beautiful. So, I'm ready.
Yeah, also we decided that increase the air program people personnel transfer more into it to air program and prepare future for drone. Also the taking with Guangna and Kanka Airline, South Marsh mosquito surveillance and lava control. So they not only helicopter, they have airboat. So they have there's 3 or 4 of them getting the training certified for airboat. So from air, from ground, exactly that. So
Great.
that's
Sounds
thank you,
good.
appreciate, yeah.
Will Morgan still be on the surveillance side as well, and then
No,
also the
Morgan
aerial, or
transfer-
just aerial?
Working transfer to air unity that together 3 of them get the certificate for airboat.
Oh, good.
It's increase the program.
Yeah, one other thing I was gonna say was during the fly-in, that was great for me, because that was the first time I got to participate in the fly-in, but that was the first thing that I noticed, and I said to Dana, I said, none of them had mosquito control on the helicopters. I mean, one had a picture of like a pinup girl from the old, and I thought, this is a government helicopter? I mean, you know, so it doesn't seem like, I don't know, we should be proud of our aerial program, so I'm, you know, I'm happy
Yeah,
about
thanks
that.
for the
And yeah, and
Speaker, good talking.
Yeah.
That concert the server program, for the county and other county in Salt Lake City, or call him to get more information how to stealing government military surplus.
There was some jealousy. I
we
assure
can't
you.
give the password out.
So we need a commissioner, we need to get a permission.
I hate to
Yeah.
bring it up, but I might as well
Yeah.
forewarn you that the Navy out in Pensacola is getting rid of their helicopters. They don't know what they're gonna do with them. We don't need any more helicopters, but I will be keeping Dr. Shu abreast of what is going on with the parts. So if I come begging, it's for the program. It's not anything personal for me, but we will try and wrangle some more pieces and parts, because the Navy has the same helicopter. They call it a TH-57, the Army called it a 67, they're Bell 206s. So if we can wrangle some other parts that we can get for cheap, I'm gonna recommend we highly snatch what we can get quickly. So I think in the next 10 years, the Bell 206 is gonna go like the Hueys have done. And they're gonna be harder and harder to get stuff for, so I'm gonna hoard up everything I can get now.
And I think that's a very good idea.
I'm on
Yeah,
top of
I'm
it.
Because it's
very
a-
impressed that many people after the flying class, oh my God, you from zero, career 3 helicopter, beautiful hangar, holiday air program flying class, that's very, very impressive.
There's a lot of
Really, thank
jealousy.
you. Then also he received the national, the special discharge award, the leadership for the saving the money, purchase the helicopter for military surplus. Yes, thank you, yeah. So
Well-
this year, we maybe next few months, we need to work on MOU with the fire rescue. That before we work on something, stop, yeah, because they all change. We can get back to work on MOU with the fire rescue and then bring it back to board for approval.
At the technical college here, they have a new flight program that's geared for transitioning to Grumman. But they do different things like the fiberglass and different kind of programs. Is that something maybe we could see if they could do some intern hours with you? And-
Absolutely.
I mean, that'd be a great way to get, you know, people interested in our flight program as well and get the credit hours.
You give them to me, ma'am, I'll put them to work.
Okay,
That'd be great.
That I can promise you.
yeah.
And we can work around their schedule. I was a kid once too.
It's a pretty new program, but I got to walk through it and it was really impressive. So Grumman's put a lot of money into that and they have helicopters too, so I think it'll be good.
Any comments, Commissioner LeBlanc?
I just want to say thank you. I think you've done a fabulous job.
Thanks,
Really
man.
have, so. Impressive.
Welcome to come down
And I
anytime,
can
take a
tell
look.
you that our auditor was extremely impressed with his program about all the pieces and parts.
Oh,
So-
the documentation,
Yeah.
everything's accounted for. And I
Yeah.
know where it's all at. There's
Does that
not a-
help
there's not
with
a bolt
insurance?
going missing.
Like with our insurance for that,
Not,
do they
probably
need
not
to know
really.
all that or no?
Probably not.
That might be a good question. I need to look into that, ma'am. Because if the hangar burnt down, what happens?
That's what I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and we have documentation of all the stuff, so, or a
Right.
hurricane or something comes, it's easy to say, oh, here's 20 grand, but
I
we
will-
know that we've got,
I'll look into
that
that
much in
and
the
I'll
engine. that's
forward
not-
that to Dr. Shu so he
Yeah,
can
we'll check
report
with the
back to the
baker.
board. Yeah.
But the baker will forgot it.
Yeah. I know we figured out something
Should've
with the
come.
mail, that our insurance covers our stuff in the mail, so instead of buying the insurance through the mail, because we were trying to figure that one out too, because, when I send off $30,000 worth of gauges, I want the insurance, because if they disappear, but our insurance that Ms. Kay and Richard explained to me, that covers our stuff in the mail, so that saves us some money too. So we'll look into that and I'll get back to Dr. Shu if that's okay next week.
I think that's good. And did you put the two together already, or do you need to? I mean, we already talked about saving money for the helicopter and the parts. And you gave us an update already about maintenance and repair. Do you have more comments to make?
I don't think so. Do you have a specific question?
I know.
No,
I
we
just
just had
want-
you down for two
We
calls.
just had you
Oh,
down
one
for.
was an update on the program, the other was an
Right.
update on 7-4 Mike, the one who was tree
And
struck.
I just wanted to make sure before you got away from the podium, if there was anything else you needed to add, that you had time to do that.
I don't think so, ma'am. I think I probably taken more than I was entitled to. So.
That's okay. It was important, it was enlightening, and I think we were all educated about, more educated than we were before, because we knew it was expensive, but we never really realized how expensive. And I remember when I first came on the board, I was at a meeting, and I can't remember what district it was, but he's not there anymore, but I think it was Bill Opp's district. And they had bought one of these huge airplanes and decided they were going to fly it over so they could show everyone at the homecoming of one of the football games stadium. And they flew it over, they made the circle, and it went down.
Oh, geez.
And so we haven't done anything like that. So
It happens.
they lost some part off of it, and they had to do an emergency landing, so.
There's been a few. There was one out on 95 the other day.
Yeah.
Flopped over and clipped a truck, and that
Yeah.
was total.
Yeah.
We're flying 7-4 Mike again, real soon.
So we appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Sir?
Thank you.
Rudy, before we go to Compass, because I think that's going to be a kind of a lengthy discussion.
Okay.
Can you just do
Sure.
your report for new business two, and then we'll go back to Compass?
Okay. Yeah, we have recently a grant application. So except the CTC, we appear residents ask a collaboration. So first the CTC, that ATSB, and application. Second, nature is, we did two time, 2019 mentor for Gainesville mosquito control, small program. 2020 for Georgia and Columbia County Department of Health Division Vector Control Section. So that was we just throw phone during the travel because COVID-19 limited. So now they're open again. So we would like to train in Unia and Pontown County, depending on what's the grant, small grant, but it's a recognition here. Thirdly, that Dr. Cohen, with cooperation with Dr. Zhang, that's Professor Fujian Agriculture First University, to apply the Gates Foundation. That requires that Gates Foundation, you have to fund from USA one support. That's the reason we have to be part of that. So they're looking for non-BTI, particularly non-BTI kill mosquito larvae. So try to improve Gates Foundation more emphasis malaria vector, Anopheles larvae. Anopheles larvae feeding activity in the water surface. So the BTI put on the drop, so not a very good control for Anopheles. And she's planning to use nanotechnology, making that BTI more on the stable on the water surface, that Anopheles larvae more eat that. Also cooperation with the ATSB, attracted toxic sugar base, so making that Anopheles adults eat and control outdoor transmission for malaria. So that's a project there. So that's I would like a board that approve. Number 4, that allow we apply. Doesn't mean they apply the grant to you. Usually called the pre-proposal. That after review, okay, you can submit a full proposal. Even submit a full proposal doesn't mean you guarantee give you, but I have more chance. So number 4, about a cost collaboration in European. They want to try to use our database and for developers kind of a computer model and build world surveillance data, mosquito-borne disease, just share information. So hopefully to be part of that. So that's I would like a board motion and allow us to cooperation, submit application. Also that today we went to the Dr. Cohen with our consultant for GLP, so apply Department of Defense grant for diaper, droplet size and many kind of stuff deal with Dr. Fu. So we went to our PI, so that need a board approval for submit the proposal.
Are there any questions about giving Rudy and the staff approval to follow through with looking for these grants?
I think it makes sense.
No questions.
So can I have a motion then to approve collaboration?
I'll make a motion to approve the collaboration of the 4 projects here and then the 5th one that you spoke about.
And I'll second that. All in favor?
Thank you.
Approved. And now we are back up to new business number 1 with Compass. Dr. Shu, Mr. Weaver, and I met with Compass this morning to go over some things, and he is here to, Grayson's here to talk about it this morning, this afternoon.
Yes, Grayson Mathewson here.
Excuse me, can I just say one thing? Rudy, as the chair, even though we usually only do motion, second, and whether they've been approved or not, when we do these minutes with this particular conversation, I really would like the whole conversation in these minutes so that we really have, so that every commissioner sitting here will have the ability to look back.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, Grayson Mathewson with Compass Group. I want to apologize for arriving a little late, but I do appreciate you guys working with the adjustments on the agenda to allow me to discuss. Moving into the project report, we'll run through these items. The activities that occurred from dates December 2nd through February 2nd. We have completed the erection of the pre-engineered metal building. The storefront material has been delivered with 50% of it being installed. We were awaiting the helicopter install in order to finish that. That helicopter has been installed as of this morning. So we are scheduled to have the completion of the storefront installed by Wednesday of next week, 2/16. The custom etched round window that was installed on 1/19. EPIS and stucco finish application was installed on 1/28. Monument sign was also completed on 1/28. For the most part, the lighting package has been delivered. I think we are looking for one head and one mounting trim that I'm working with Richard to try and locate as of this afternoon. Fire sprinkler package has been installed and passed its inspection on 1/31. Just waiting trim out following the interior paint. Fish tank is in production, still scheduled for delivery in March of 22. Playground equipment, that is scheduled for install still this month. Waiting the factory feedback on when the material is actually going to be shipped. But I don't foresee any issues getting that material here and installed before the completion of the building. The classroom bench is 95% done. It's in my superintendent's, I guess, wood shop right now, awaiting final sanding and lacquering. But we won't do that until we get it installed in the building itself. Interior framework, that was completed on 1/12. Interior electrical and plumbing rough is at a 90% completion. We are currently awaiting inspections. They are anticipated to be done tomorrow. I'm speaking with the electrician. Construction trailer was removed, 1/31. That frees up the area for the pond and the extra work that has to be done around the site. Interior design package is complete. I think we're just awaiting final color selections. Graphics design, we have put that on hold. As Chairman Mueller mentioned earlier, we had a meeting earlier today to discuss that. I think we've got a plan to move forward. Section sign design is at 90% complete right now. Still waiting the final submittal to be turned in for review. Currently have 14 subcontractors working during that period on this project, for which we're St. Augustine, St. Johns County residents. I guess the dollar amount associated with that is still at $423,635, contracted to St. Johns County residents. It's approximately 17% of the prime contract amount. And as I mentioned earlier, there was 4 St. Johns County contractors currently on site. Tax savings as of this report, we have recognized $27,271.74 in tax savings, and we have a estimated $3,613 that's still in process. The deliverable schedule impacts. We did relocate the etched round window in the pre-engineered metal building. That occurred on 12/15 and was completed on 12/27. The helicopter delivery, that was estimated to be here 2/18. We have improved that as of this morning. It was installed. The completion of the exterior storefront, we are now, as I mentioned earlier, scheduled to install that on 2/16, which is Wednesday of next week. And the installation and drywall will begin following that storefront installation once we're ready.
When you say storefront, are you talking about inside where we're gonna have like the bathroom, or are you talking about the front of the building?
Front of the building, so it's closed up and dried in,
Okay.
or I guess the side of the building. Let's see, the set design production is underway. We do have a revised schedule of that to begin following the drywall and painting completion, which is scheduled for 3/28. Design changes to the millwork display cabinets, those were approved. I've got the submittal review back from Richard as of today, trying to review the comments made and get it processed for production of the cabinets. Signage and image content, that was the discussion that we had this morning regarding the content and imagery selection or finished research for the graphics design. We are anticipating a January 7th due date in order to continue our graphics design process with completed content and imagery. That date was not met, therefore we had a meeting with Richard and Wayne, Mr. Flowers, on 1/6 to anticipate what we were going to do in order to get the content, continue to push forward with that portion of the project. I believe, as we mentioned earlier, that a resolution was come to this morning in the meeting with Chairperson Mueller. But we will, I guess, discuss that further. There also are some, or I guess several incomplete design coordination items that are plaguing the project. We are working through the process to try and get the ultimate end product that AMCD is looking for, as well as the taxpayers. In order to do so involves the design team of record in order to properly coordinate some of these items that we feel is not complete or may or may not be in process, I'm not sure. But of those scheduled impact items, we're still anticipating delivery of this metal building, barring the graphics side of, or I guess the media scope of this building. We're still scheduled to complete this building by our completion date of July 8th of this year.
Okay. Question?
When you say the media graphics, are you talking about things that are going onto the computers, or are you talking about graphics that are gonna be on the walls?
Both. So everything that is being used as an instrument of education is the media and or the media graphics.
Okay.
And as I said before, I did meet with them this morning at 10 o'clock. And another gentleman that couldn't be here this evening. And Compass Group would really like to not do any of our media work. And they are willing to bail out and refund us the money that they put into the contract for the media work, which you have the form on the table, which is $63,431.48. Richard, Dr. Shu and I tentatively agreed that we should definitely let them out of the media contract for a variety of reasons. One of them is we could go to mediation. When I spoke to Wayne, Wayne wasn't sure at this point how soon we could get mediation, how many hours of mediation we would need, and there's absolutely no guarantee that we would win, and they would have to fulfill the obligation of our contract. If we ended up with attorneys fighting over this on both sides, it could cost us way more than $63,431.48. So we tentatively agreed that we would bring it to the board to let them out of that portion, because letting them out of that portion is not going to affect the completion and the CO of the building in July. It may set us back a month or two to get the program open. What we envisioned with this project and the quality of the project is not what Compass really thought we wanted. Everything we have done in the last 15 years since I have been on this board has been done with excellence, and we need to continue to do that. And the whole truth of the matter is, anybody could have built the building, but not everybody can truly do the level of media and the digital stuff that we were anticipating or expecting. And I think allowing them out of this contract and having the $63,000 plus refunded to us is truly in our best interest as an agency, and it's truly in the best interest of the fiduciary responsibilities that we have to the taxpayer. I did speak to Richard, and he's welcome to interact with this in any way that he likes. We do still have $1.3 million in the budget that has not been spent yet. We would get the $63,000 back. I made it very clear to Compass that we were not interested in being nickel and dimed with change orders at this point. They did tell me how many change orders were in. I understood this morning, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that you weren't anticipating more change orders. Is that correct?
Not at this time, no.
Well, you need to be very careful with that, because we all have to come to compromises somewhere. This is taxpayers' money. So I am sincerely hoping that there are not a lot more of change orders, because we don't need to be nickel and dimed. That's my personal opinion. I might not should have put it in that manner, but I've always been pretty outspoken, and there's no sense in my not being outspoken with this. So Rudy and Richard have given me two motions, but I think we really probably ought to hear from Richard before we discuss those motions. I would really like to make the motion so that we can move ahead, but at the same time, I want to make sure with Mr. Flowers that what we are doing is definitely legal, definitely in our best interest. But in the meantime, it's very apparent that Compass wants out of this portion of their agreement. if you went back and looked at what some of the other RFPs we received, their media cost was almost as much, if not more than, the building. So, you know, and that's water, that's absolutely water under the dam. This may cost us more than this, it will definitely cost us more than the $63,000, but I truly believe we will get the quality that we are definitely looking for. So I think that Compass has done a very good job so far in our building. And I believe that it can be done on time. I'm not faulting that at all. But if you really are looking at good quality digital, we need to give it up and move on. And Richard, I know you're probably biting at the bit to have a conversation. And if I have misspoken, now's your time to speak up.
Everything sounds accurate based on our conversations this morning.
Thank you.
So for taxpayers that didn't get the email that we got from your lawyer, could you fill us in on as far as what the problem is and what the foreseeable remedy is?
Yes, so the problem is a lack of supply of completed research in order to properly design and finish the creation of the graphic that is to go on these walls, that is to educate these individuals that want to come learn about mosquitoes. We have not, to date, have not been provided the content from a technically written aspect that is a completion of research with imagery that is organized in a format that can be put on display.
The gentleman that was in charge of the tech, that was from a different company, is that not his job? Or is that, whose job is that?
I'm not, are you talking about the actual components, the audiovisual components?
Maybe.
That's
separate than
That's
this?
separate from this discussion. Yeah.
Okay,
He's fine, he's still moving forward.
okay.
One of the things that we do need from you is Richard made a point this morning that there were, was it 57 different items that we needed, Richard? And you wanted to make certain what we were going to be responsible for, what they were going to finish, if anything, or not, so that we know when we put out another request for a bid, that we know exactly how to write that RFQ.
Our position was pretty clear. We are completing the building through drywall and paint finishes, but any aspect of a mural or any writing or any component associated with the display, we are not.
And what about the
We're excluding.
signs that take you through? Are you doing any signage whatsoever?
No, we will provide life safety signage as required in order to have a certificate of occupancy on this building. But any write-up and or signage separate from that, we are requesting exclusion.
And it's my understanding from Richard that some of the parts have already been done that go over or have been ordered that go over our theater. You're not going to finish those either. Is that my understanding from you?
I'm not sure what specific parts you're talking about.
Yeah, if you could slide over so we can hear this from Richard.
We're getting into
And we need to
details
make
here.
sure Wayne can still hear us.
Wayne, can you still hear us?
I can.
Okay. We're kind of jumping ahead here, but to your question, the question was the marquee over the auditorium. That had a lot of nape, but it also was considered a sign. So again, that's one of the details that needs to get worked out in the detail of this change order, but I don't know if that's gonna be included or excluded.
Yes, so that was actually included in the deduction for the specialty sign of the classroom or theater.
Richard, do you have any other comments? Because
I
I,
have a lot of comments,
um,
and I'd like to answer questions.
so, we would like you to stay so you can hear Richard's comments. If you don't have any other comments, I'd like for Richard to be able to do his, so that we can make the best educated decision at this table we can make.
Okay, fair enough.
Richard, you're up.
All right, so we're talking about now we're talking about every sign in the whole building. And I'm assuming we're talking about the sign on the front of the building and the monument sign out in the parking lot. I'm guessing if we're eliminating all signs. Again, that needs to be detailed so that we know what we're getting into. This comes down to a difference of opinion of scope. Their idea of the scope, and I'm generalizing here, is that what we call the content designer or the graphic artist, we, AMCD, thought we wrote the contract so that that person worked with the set designer, the display builder, the IT person, and then this person would come in, help with the layout of the sets, the graphics on the walls, the wording, the verbiage, the graphs, the photographs, the layout on all the digital and on all the actual walls. Their thought is that AMCD would provide basically rough proofs with the verbiage completely written and basic layout done so that their person would basically do a cleanup and cut and paste cleanup type thing. That's not in our capabilities, never has. We never imagined we had those capabilities. What we provided and have provided is layouts, photos, and research, a lot of research, volumes of it, which is too much for any one person to look at. But the idea is that you sit down in the room with that person and you work through display by display and get the person familiar with the material and the display and the idea that you're trying to get, put out there. And then that person takes that, turns it into words and pictures and graphs, and we go back and forth till we get the final one. Working again with the other 3 components. There's 4 components there. So there was a disagreement there. They say we didn't provide what they needed. We say, yes, we did. Things like photographs. Going into this, I had no idea. I knew that we had to get permission to use photographs, but what I found out is to buy those permissions for the photographs are very, very expensive. So we're gonna need hundreds of photographs in there, both on the kiosks, on the tablets, on the walls, and we're lucky we're getting a lot of the mosquito stuff from whatever it is, UF or whatever. So we're getting some of those, but we're still gonna have to buy hundreds of photographs. And that's probably gonna be anywhere in the range from $10,000 to $20,000. So I don't wanna buy a photograph until I sit down I can get the images for viewing for layouts, but I can't put them up on the wall until I pay for them. So I've got a lot of images, hundreds of them, ready for the person to look at and, you know, give their opinion. Oh, you need 3 here, and this one looks good, this one won't fit, the wall color's this. Let's take the one that has a green background and not the blue background, that type of stuff. And so, again, we didn't provide photos because I'm not gonna purchase photos, and it's an artistic thing where we're working with, again, the set designer and the set builders and this person. So we're at an impasse, and it was an idea of scope. So, as Ms. Mueller explained, you know, there's nuclear options, and then there's just throwing up our hands and saying, okay, they're not able to do the job, or they don't want to do the job, however you want to term it. We need the job done. They're willing to give us the money back that they had put aside for that. I will tell you that I think that this work is gonna be, now I'm saying with the amount of work that they're giving back to us, probably $300,000, maybe more. And we're gonna have to hire multiple contractors because it's not just the content developer that we're dumping. We're also dumping the sign people and a number of other pieces and parts that I didn't expect to come out in this agreement, but if that's the way it's gotta go, that's the way it's gotta go. I mean, again, this is a board decision, but to keep the project moving, to get it done right, I think at this point, AMCD has to have control of the artistic portion of it, and we can hire our own contractors. They will work. I'm assuming you won't have any problem working with whoever we hire, with your subcontractors that are doing the set designs and all that. So our people will work with their people, and we'll get the rest of the displays done. I can tell you that the science staff has been working really hard putting together the data. We spent a lot of time, and I'm not gonna go into any name calling or saying we did this or we didn't do that. That's not why I'm here. I'm just trying to explain it. I don't know what kind of questions you got, but we're kind of, right now we're at an impasse on this, and it's costing them money, and it's gonna delay the opening, and so something needs to be done. And there's extreme options, more extreme options, and then nuclear. And Wayne, I don't know if you wanna weigh in on anything,
Yeah,
but
I was gonna ask
know
him
we
that
don't
next.
want to go nuclear if we can avoid it. We wanna try to be reasonable here. So anyway,
And I agree with that, Richard, and I think when someone says, we're willing to dump this project and refund your money, once somebody tells you, no, I'm not gonna do that, no, I don't wanna do that, I think that we don't need to go any further but to agree to disagree and allow them out of the contract, because whatever we do is gonna cost us money, and why spend more money when we have absolutely no idea how mediation for either one of us would go, and how they would feel if we won. So I don't think we need to put Compass Group into that kind of a scenario. If we need to figure out how to come up with more money, then we still have a little over $1 million in this contract. You just need to watch what may happen between now and the completion of that building.
yes, as far as the budget goes, at this point, we don't need to change anything with the budget for the building. The board gave me 10% for change orders and things that happen. this is probably gonna blow through that. But we won't know that till the end of the project. I don't know how many more change orders we're gonna get and what kind of cost that's at. And we don't know exactly what these new pieces and parts are gonna cost us. I do know that the content development part is probably gonna be with printing and application, probably 150,000, I'm guessing. And then we've got other signs on top of that now and some technical stuff. You know, and it is a lot of work. We're talking about 50 displays at least, and now with the sign stuff, it's gonna be closer to 75 or 80 pieces that are affected. And each one of those has unique things. I mean, some of it's very digital. The kiosks, a lot of work on the kiosks. Whoever takes that on, they're touch screens, they're 2 screens. So the data that we provide and the photos that we provide, it's gonna take a lot of work. There's gonna be multiple screens. People are gonna be able to touch things, ask questions, answer questions. And the people that we hire, I am going to make sure, if we go this route, are very, very aware of what our expectations are before we move forward, because we don't wanna do this again. We wanna get it right. But you've got from the very, very technical electronic stuff to the simple signs that are hanging in the sections, and, you know, the more simple stuff that's on the wall. So the person has to be, they're called interpretive signs. They have to be specialists in being able to do that as well as digital. So, you know, it may even take a couple of contractors just for that piece and part. So there's a lot to it. And it's gonna put more work on AMCD staff as well.
Do we have somebody in mind to do all that? Do you have people?
There are a number of companies in this region that do it. I've put out some feelers, but this has really happened really quickly. And I know that there's people I can contact, and I've got contacts. But at this point in time, I don't have any names or company names. I know we will be contacting Pizzazz, the people that were gonna work for Harrell. We're gonna be contacting them and talking to them about this whole project, so.
The gentleman from Pizzazz, really seemed to, truly be aware of what it was we expected. So we can't look backwards, we can only move forwards. And I guess when I ask somebody if they would like to do something, or if I call a maid and say, I need this done, and they tell me they can't do it or they don't want to, I know I'm not gonna get the quality of work that I want, and so I move on to the next one. I think all of us do that in our personal lives, and I think we need to do that professionally at this table. But Wayne may have some comments that he would like to make. But Rudy has given me 2 motions he would like me to bring forward so that we're not losing time between now and March for Richard to be able to move forward. And that's not trying to be disrespectful of Compass, but we are just looking for certain things, and that's what the whole program was started for, and we need to keep up our level of what it was we started out with. So.
Should I ask Wayne comments? Ms. Muller asked, I don't know if you heard her. Do you have any comments?
Just briefly, there is no perfect solution in this circumstance, unfortunately. I have a lot of confidence in the work that Richard's done and his efforts to provide what's needed here. But irrespective, we are at an impasse, and you know, like I said, the choices are not none are perfect. I think what the chairman has done here is try to find a practical way to avoid delays, to avoid potential cost associated with trying to get an endpoint to this impasse, and also, more importantly, to get the product that the board, I think, was looking for here on the creative side of this. So I think Richard is correct that we need to be real clear on what is being excluded through this change order, but this is a resolution of the issue, is a practical way to go about moving the project forward. So I think that's about all I have to say.
So, more questions?
Can I ask you? So if you could kind of just, I know it's more intricate than just the one line, but if you could go on what's being taken out and just kind of brief it for us?
All right, yeah, so the line item number 1 of PCCO 24 was a $10,000 deduction for the design scope of taking whatever content, or I guess a completion of content, or a completion of research, and creating the display image or the graphic, if you will, that's going to be printed. Line item number 2, that would be the actual production and install of media, of the signs, pictures, murals, and interpretive signs, what have you, inside that building.
So would that include, like, for example, when, you know, people go to leave and we were gonna have the wall of commissioners and directors and pictures in the frames and stuff, so like, that means you're not putting any of that up?
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Line item 3, that was a continuance of that sign production. The exterior sign package, or the exterior signs that go on this building and on the monument sign, there isn't any definition of what you guys want. There's no coordination of anything on this one.
Okay.
So that would be a line item that would exclude the front sign that goes on the front of the building and the monument sign. We've got the structure there for you to mount whatever you need to, but the actual lettering, or I don't even know if it's backlit or if it's just, you know, solid black PVC of some sort, or is it wood, or is it metal? I don't know. The information is not provided. It hasn't been coordinated.
Okay.
The line item 4 would be the media section signs. This would be the lit signs that Richard was talking about that come down from the ceiling, that would identify each of the different sections. That's $20,945.25.
How come that one can't be done? Like, just where it says like ants, vectors, or something like that, or a
It
different,
is-
like, exit?
It's a design element that at this point, as far as the completion of that design, it would be something that would need some further development and or additional costs associated with it in order to bring it to fruition.
Okay.
The media specialty sign for the classroom, that would be the creation, production, and install of the theater marquee that Richard discussed earlier over the classroom.
Didn't we pick one of those out in the meeting? The marquee sign? No? So has that been ordered, or you're saying that hasn't even been ordered?
It has not been ordered. We are in the process of getting designs pulled together for approval.
Okay.
can provide companies of which we've reached out to if it helps. The media installation scope, that would be the installation requirements, or I guess the man-hours required to hang the different components or the different signs on the wall. So like hanging the pictures or whatnot that you see in this room. And then the last item would be the hardware that would be associated with hanging those components.
So are these all encompassed of just basically saying like, everything that goes on the wall, we're just gonna take it all out so it's easier? Or is there some stuff you all are gonna be putting up and then some stuff we're gonna put up, or?
We're not putting anything up other than life safety signage for a certificate of occupancy in this building.
Okay,
They want out of the whole kit and caboodle, Trish.
Anything that requires the, design aspect that needs to be further progressed. Because we're at a point now where we're, out of time. I needed a lot of this stuff back in first part of January.
So, so they really don't want to do anything that has anything to do with media. So
So we're
Any-
just talking about the building, basically.
they're just talking about doing the building. So
so what about like the cement thing to put the mosquito statue on up front? Are you gonna do that or not?
Anything structural, or the mosquito statue that requires a foundation
Yeah.
has not been designed, nor I'm not aware that it has been provided by whoever's providing the sculpture of what's needed there. So I don't know. We don't have anything in the drawings that says this is the foundation, this is the required rebar for an inspector to inspect. So I don't have, that wouldn't be a part of our scope of supply anyway.
Okay, what about the garden area? Like with the pond and
We have that.
sidewalk and
We have
stuff,
that.
you're
That's not
still
included in
doing that?
Yeah,
Okay.
still doing that. Every major component on the outside of the building, we're still doing. This is primarily just dealing with signage, that at this point, there's a lot more effort that needs to be put into it in order to get a package that you guys want, or that you're gonna want to educate the people with.
Okay.
So you're going to refund, what is the exact amount?
$63,431.48.
Okay. I mean, that sounds like a small amount, and we're gonna have to basically come up with quite a bit of money
it's
to get
part
this
of the
done now.
problem, and that's why we're in impasse.
Okay.
Well, that's
So-
why Harold Construction said the price was too cheap when we had the big discussion with all the contractors.
Right. So, and I know, Trish, you sit in more of those meetings than the rest of us because of the real sunshine law. Two of us aren't supposed to be there unless we put it out there. So you have a little bit more background with it than the rest of us. But are there any more comments? Richard, if we need a base to put a mosquito out there, is there any reason why, if that was originally a part of their contract, why we can't get that to them and have them finish that? Because as far as I'm concerned, that is not a part of media. This is something, we didn't even talk about that at our meeting. And I don't mind leaving them out of the media, but I don't want them to pick and choose whatever else they might not want to do.
If I may, that item that you're talking about was not a part of our scope of supply from the beginning. It's not designed. There is no structural integrity component to it. we were anticipating any sculpture to be mounted to or sat on the pavers.
I think in the future, because we can only look to the future, thank heavens our sit lab is the last thing we're really looking at building. But before we decide to,
I don't agree with his assessment of the sculpture, but that, I don't want to get into,
yeah, we don't want to get into he said, she said, but we need to figure it out.
the sculpture was a piece of their bid, but it was it was an allowance. But I'd have to read the contract and the book, but it's pretty obvious they were supposed to hook it to the ground. That's not something a sculptor does. They bring it into the site. That be as it may, overall, just to make this clear, they underbid this project by $500,000 at least, and they're backtracking, and that's what's going on here. And they can say whatever. They can say that we didn't do this, and we didn't do that, and it's our fault, it's not on the drawings. That's all fine, but the reality is they can't afford to finish the job.
Thank you, Richard. Wayne, do you have any other comments?
I do not.
Are there any other comments from anybody at the table?
I just think we need to find an agreement and just move forward, because, yeah, that's obviously the most logical thing to do, so.
So besides all the media stuff, everything else is set on track, and we're gonna be able to continue having a good working relationship with Compass and all that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gardner, do you have any comments?
I'd like to know how much in change orders you've submitted already.
Let's see.
How much currently today?
Yes.
We've actually
Approximately.
issued, this is a compilation on PCCO 24, the second page. We have issued a total change order in the amount of negative $388,705.61, plus this one.
You give me a minute, I can do a total deposit.
Oh, right here. That's what it's about. Yeah, the original, contract sum, the net change by previous orders, contract prior to this change order.
Yeah, so a little short of $500,000 in deductions or credits back to AMCD, but that's also encompassing the positives. So it is not just a calculation of the negatives.
This is a quick addition, and it's not exact, but I believe we're at $87,000 we've spent in change orders so far. And I can tell you, 50,000 of that was cabinetry. And then to have the set design turned into reality, again, I haven't paid all these or signed all these change orders yet because there's some disputes about them. But if the board wants to move forward, we're just gonna have to bite the bullet and spend the money because, again, They came up with a number for the cabinetry, like the insect display boxes. They use shadow boxes like you would buy at Hobby Lobby as their base number. And of course, insect cabinets are wood, good wood, you know, they're fairly airtight, they have desiccant in them, all that type of stuff. So when the design team came up with the final design, it was basically, you know, this is what we need, matching what was written in the book. And Greg, the guy who did the bid for Compass, pulled these numbers from wherever, and that was a value of about 20,000. And then when the cabinetry stuff came back, it was, you know, another 50 grand. So that's just that. And then you've got pieces and parts, you know, of each display that, if you read the book, in my opinion, these pieces and parts should be included. Compass says no. You know, there's lawyers that can look at each one of those lines and make legal opinions, but again, that costs a lot of money too. So we're at an impasse in a lot of ways, and I've hired a contracting consultant. He's been working with me on these change orders and RFIs to try to get the information to them, to get it corrected. But again, there's been no compromise. It's been no to anything that we've brought up as maybe it should be this way, or here's where it says this in the contract. So
I just think it's very
he'll
apparent
dispute
that,
but that's where we're at. That's
I
our
think
opinion.
it's just very apparent that we just need to move on with this and get it done. So, Rudy has drafted, and Richard have drafted 2 motions. The first motion I'm gonna make, if there are no more comments, is to allow the staff to negotiate with the attorney to review a detailed version of the Compass change order number 24, removing most media from the scope for reduction in the Compass contract of $63,431.48. Do I have, that's my motion. Do I have a second? And is there any discussion on it?
Can we hear the other motion?
Well, you
Or can I
can,
read it?
yeah,
Or read the one that you said?
to allow, I think you have it. Did you give no. Allow staff to negotiate with the attorney to review a detailed version of the Compass change order 024, removing most media from the scope of a reduction in the Compass contract of $63,431.48.
And that would remove Compass, they don't have to deal with any of that stuff?
That's-
And we get our own people and do that?
That's
What
correct.
that motion is?
Yes. So I made the motion, but we need to have a second. And please remember that there are 4 of us today, which means that we either all have to vote for it to pass the motion, or 3 of us have to vote for it, so that we don't come at an impasse at this table.
So if we pass this motion, say this passes, we relieve you of the media for $63,431.48, then in the future, we're not gonna receive any sort of letter from a lawyer saying you gotta pay us back this or that or anything like that? Is that's just kind of like, we're done and now we're moving forward?
It is a no harm change order on the scope, yes. So if it is deducted, no harm, no foul, both parties go their separate ways. We finish the building, you guys, once we give you a CO, you move in and finish stocking and furnishing.
And what about all, like, the benches and chairs and stuff? That's not part of the
Media, no.
media, is it?
Nope.
Oh,
No, ma'am.
okay.
No, that's a fixed item. There's no debate over this.
What about like bathroom signs and stuff? That's,
As far as signage for occupancy, certificate of occupancy, I have to have bathroom signage posted in order to pass final inspections, plumbing and fire marshal wise.
okay, but, you know, that we're gonna make that first building look like a house inside, so is that included as part of the design media, like putting the shingles on and painting
No.
and whatever?
No, ma'am, that's
separate.
physical construction.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's-
I just wanna be clear, 'cause I'm
And
not
I
confused.
appreciate your,
Did you say the building's not included in
No, I did not.
no, he didn't.
Okay, that's what.
No, I was asking, and he
Physical
said that's
construction.
physical, that's included,
It has
yeah.
nothing to do
I
with-
was just making sure, okay.
So women and men's signs will be on the doors.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any more questions, Trish?
No,
Commissioner Gardner, any other questions?
Nope.
Then I need a second to my motion so we can vote on it.
I'll make the second.
All those in favor? And the second motion, so that we can move on without wasting more time, is to allow the AMCD staff to hire the necessary contractors to complete the scope of work removed from the Compass contract. So we can at least find out from several contractors how much they would charge us and make certain that they understand the scope and the quality of work that we want. And Richard already has several contractors in media that he is willing to contract.
Is this to make it so we can put out a RFP, or is this saying to
Yes.
forego the RFP?
No,
and just
it's so
hire?
we can put out is it an RFQ? Richard?
The plan was to put out an RFQ, request for quotes. We can ask Wayne if that's okay. I would imagine it's covered under this, plus the board makes policy, the board can do whatever it wants. We were hoping to do it like an RFQ, where you put out a request for quotes, you get the quotes in, and then you take the lowest qualified. Wayne, is that legal?
That will satisfy any procurement requirements.
Right.
If you guys
But-
vote on that. Yes.
However,
Okay, great, thank you, Wayne.
I cannot remember the number, but under Chapter 388, this board has the ability to hire and do whatever is necessary for whatever it is we're doing, to be able to hire, and we do not have to go with the lowest bid. And that's in Chapter 388. Wayne probably could address that better than I can, but I want you all to remember that. So we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And Commissioner LeBlanc, second. All those in favor? Unanimous, Rudy. And thank you very much. I hope you are relieved, because I can assure you that I am.
Yeah, sorry they made you take the heat for this.
So now we are down to reports. Rudy, do you have a report?
Thank you. Last week, the Dutch Holocaust, since almost 15 years, that most of our employees interested in joining the Dutch Holocaust. This is the first time more employees join the Dutch Holocaust. So
Can
the
you
same
talk
sort of-
into there so we can definitely get it?
So we have 17 employees and 3 commissioners joined. That's about 20 people joined the Dutch Holocaust. And second thing about AMC meeting, There'll be start March 1st to March 4th, so that we register and the employer and the 3 commissioner, so that you join the commissioner, you travel, and we this will pay per diem, or give you every day you travel, because no hotel, every day pay the mileage, and back and forth, we pay the mileage. So the third thing about the AMCD DC legislation meeting, there will be in May 18 to 20. If you who is interested in join the meeting this year, they try to in person there. So they're talking about it, put in person, they're going to DC lobby and join the legislation meeting. If you're interested in, let me know. We put on the March agenda on the consent agenda for approval. So look, that's the whole. Thank you very much.
Rudy, do you know Doug Carlson has retired and he's totally out of it now? Do you know who in Florida is the lead person for,
Who's in charge?
who's
There will
in
be President Chris Lesser will be
Chris
in charge.
Lesser?
Yeah. He will make an announcement after the AMC board make a decision during March meeting. On the March meeting agenda, need the AMC approval first.
So, yeah, because they will be looking for teams, and they don't want more than 4 people to a team, because a lot of the offices in the Capitol and even the Senate are very small, and we don't want to have to meet out in the hallways again like we have had to do in the past. So it's very interesting. Everybody should probably go at least once.
Yeah, I will update the information after March 1st AMC board meeting.
Right.
I will give a talking point and
Okay.
number
Sounds
of people limitation, probably look at the COVID-19 situation.
Okay, and are you finished with your
Yeah, I
report,
finished,
Dr.
Sandy.
Shu? Mr. Flowers, do you have a report or any comments?
No report. I apologize that I was not able to be there this evening, and I look forward to seeing you all next month.
Thank you. Commissioner Gardner, any comments?
No?
No comments. Commissioner LeBlanc, any comments?
As always, I would like to thank the staff for everything that they've done, and you all have a lot of work ahead of you on top of it, as we're going to be heading into mosquito season, so that's, yeah. I also want to thank Taylor and Olivia for coming out and judging the science fair. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Commissioner Becker, comments?
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to say thank you, Richard. I know that you've had to deal with more than your job's worth of work and effort, and I just want you to know that we all appreciate the hard work that you've done for this. I know it's tough, but we'll get over it. It sucks, I know, you know. And then it also stinks because we had other vendors here that day that told us this would happen, and we didn't believe it. So it stinks, but we can go forward, and I'm sure Compass is gonna have a wonderful job finishing the building, and we'll get our people, and we'll have that all taken care of. An exciting thing was I did see the beginning, or the middle part of our mosquito statue being built. It's getting built out of reclaimed metal pieces, and it's like 12.
I have a picture if you
Yeah.
want to pass it down.
It's gonna be like 12 feet long. It looks awesome. And I follow the guy on social media, and like everyone's
I'll take it.
freaking out about it.
That is
So it's gonna be
awesome.
really awesome, yeah.
Who worked on this?
He does all kinds of
Who's-
different sculptures.
Who did this?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'd have to look up his full name. He's up north, like in Michigan or something, and he uses found materials to piece this together. He does a lot of little ones, but he also does big ones. So yeah, it's really cool. It's coming together really well. And again, that was something Compass was supposed to kind of spearhead, and I found the guy, I hired the guy. They gave me 10 grand back from the contract. That's part of that 300,000 was really our money just coming back to pay that guy.
But so yeah, it's gonna be really cool. So I know construction's always bumpy, working with a bunch of people's always bumpy. We'll get through it, cause we're AMCD and we're number one, so we'll get through that. And for Dana, I just can't thank you enough again for spearheading our aerial program and the amazing work you do, and it was even more apparent during the fly-in. Not only by getting to, stick my head in all the helicopters and talk to the pilots and talk to directors and talk to other people, and there's a lot of stuff, and there's a certain amount of different qualities that you have that other people don't have that makes our program that much better. So thank you again for that, and I know that's a lot of hard work for you as well. I'm really proud of our whole team is just so great. I know I'm like the cheerleader, but the fly-in was a very wonderful event, and we had a lot of people there. I think almost 200, and it was fantastic. The Dodge short course went on really well, and I helped for the Commissioners Caucus, and I presented on what we do as commissioners and what we can do to be better and help our staff and make better decisions for taxpayers. That went over really well. We had a good tour again at the entomology lab, where we got to learn a bunch of different things, and at almost every room we were in, when they didn't realize who we were, me and Commissioner Gardner, they're like, oh, like Anastasia has, oh, like Anastasia, like every place was, oh, we like, and at one point I'm like, oh yeah, we have that, and then I had to pull her aside. I said, does it seem like we're gloating or something? 'Cause, but taxpayers know, so just thank you all, and please tell the rest of the staff that. And I talked to, I adopted a cat, and the woman owns the Frisky Whiskers Cafe by Flagler College. And I was talking with her about heartworm, and they wanted to know more information, and she said there's gonna be a seminar at the library, the South Library. And I said, well, we'd love to send somebody out to talk about heartworm, because it's not only in dogs, it's cats and birds and other things. And the gentleman that's gonna put that program together reached out to me, and he's like really excited about that. And it's on the day that I'm presenting at the AMCA, the student competition. So I'll forward you the email if we could get somebody down there to talk about that. They'd really like that. And then lastly, because of the policies we passed before, I'd like to get a couple motions, or we could just put it all together. In April is the mosquito week, the National Mosquito Week for the country. And so
I always thought it was in June,
June is national, yeah, June, last week of June.
last week of
April is
June.
the Florida Mosquito Control Association record. April 25th, your birthday, World Malaria Day.
Yeah,
August 20th is World Dengue Fever Day. That's all different day.
so which
FMC
one's
has
in
a
April?
Florida Mosquito Control Awareness Week.
Or, yeah, Florida,
FMC.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, yeah, the
April.
Florida Mosquito Control
Yes.
Awareness Week, sorry about that. So with that, I wanted to get a motion to ask if I can put together another 10-minute presentation to give to the City of St. Augustine Beach, and the county commissioners on our program, how many requests or service requests we did last year, and just like a general overview and ask for them to proclaim, it as Mosquito Week.
So we need to do that in June, not April?
No, April, for Florida Mosquito Week.
I don't particularly have a problem with it. I think you need to work with Rudy and the staff on it. Do you have a problem with her presenting? Commissioner Gardner, do you have a problem with her
No,
presenting?
not at all.
Because I have to reach out like 1 to 2 months ahead of time to get put on the agenda, and then, so I want your approval to be able to present myself as all of us in front of elected people or whatever.
And I don't think any of us have a problem with it. Do you, Dr. Shu?
No.
I think
And
more,
help, you can take a staff who can help you, yeah. And it's help.
so I don't think you need a motion. I just think you need,
Just inform.
Well, it's a
everybody.
policy.
Everybody knew.
right, it's
Okay.
a policy, but the policy was just to let us know, and you've done that. So
Okay.
you have fulfilled your obligation.
Okay,
And you have 3 votes plus your own, so you're good to go.
and that's all, thank you.
My comments are, I appreciate everything that the staff has done. I am well aware that pulling the media from Compass is going to require more work for all of our staff. But I said in that meeting this morning, kind of sort of bit my tongue on several occasions because I'm real frank about what I think, and Wayne scolded me into, he didn't scold me, but he scolded me into not saying what I was really thinking, and that was, well, you underbid, this is your own damn fault, and we have to pay for it. But the truth of the matter is, we would not have gotten we would not have gotten what we wanted. And I did let them know that we were not looking at, this morning we did not have a figure of what we would get back. We didn't get that until after 3 o'clock this afternoon by email. And I got it on my phone. I don't think, because our phones were down, which means our internet was down, we wouldn't have known it was there had I not gotten it on my phone and come out to talk about these motions again and what did we really want from what did the administration really want us to do. But the media portion of this education center is what's going to draw people in, and it needs to be the best that it absolutely can be. But I made it perfectly clear, and I think Richard and Dr. Shu will agree with me, that we were not going to be nickel and dime to death with more and more changes so that they can get this $63,000 back. I made that very clear. Richard has definitely agreed that he is going to watch them with a fine-tooth comb. And I don't want shoddy material put in there so they can save a little bit more money. And Richard is also going to handle that. So that's kind of where I left it. I can tell you that they are extremely rigid. And I just looked at them and I said, look, we are in an impasse. We all of us have to be able to compromise. Do you think you can do that? And that's when they said, we just want out of this contract. So we didn't have to ask them. They gave it to us, which probably, in the long run, has saved us a great deal of money, even though it's gonna cost us a great deal of money, but we would have ended up having to pay it anyway to get the quality of media and digital that we wanted. So that's my comment on the meeting this morning. We still do not have talking points for the letter that needed to go out to our legislators for the 2.66 million and the two pieces of the proviso languages. We still don't know when the next workshop is going to be for to move 5E-13. I am the only person currently on this legislative committee that has any background whatsoever with how the legislative committee is supposed to work. And so I did sit down and send them out an email in a step-by-step process to tell them what they needed to do, because those of us that are sustaining board members are paying between $40,000 and $43,000 for our lobbyist. And this is not Chris Lyon's fault, but until he has some direction from us, he can't lobby. And we're already 4 or 5 weeks into the legislative session, and it's going to be over on March the 31st. And he was very clear to this board and to the chair and the co-chair that if we wanted to ask for more money or we wanted to change the proviso language, that it needed to be done immediately. So we won't be able to ask for more money this year, nor do we have an opportunity now to change the proviso language because it's too late. The budget for DAX is already in. The governor's budget is already in, even though it hasn't been approved. A lot of information is from the subcommittees. The more committees and subcommittees a bill has to go through, the less chance it has of passing. And that's absolutely anywhere. We are concerned about the bill that they have out for the drones. Our small Florida-based businesses that do drones, like Leading Edge, and there are several others that I can't remember right this minute, are very concerned because they are not on the approved list. And none of the federal government drones are approved to do a treatment, meaning they can't spray any kind of material. They were only for surveillance. So we definitely need to have some talking points about that. So as soon as we get those, I can bring them back to the board and we can see exactly what we need to do. Only 16 people signed up to be in Tallahassee, which is one of the other reasons why they canceled. And of those 16, I believe 3 of us were planning on going, 4 of us were planning on going. So we would have been 25%. And we can do our own thing right from here. So those are the end of my comments. And if no one else has any further comments, whether it's the staff or my fellow commissioners, I will adjourn.
Can I ask one question? Have we heard from Commissioner Brandhurst? Is she okay? Because she didn't come last month either. Is she sick? Or we don't know?
We don't know.
We don't know. Thursday, Dina dropped a board book in her front door, knocked door, nobody response. But she said they saw her car parking in the lot, yeah. We said a text message, no response. Our last meeting, board requested our lawyer, Mr. Flower, and they said later, it's, I don't know if she received or not, through email or physical for the letter.
Wayne, did you mail a physical letter or did you do email?
No, I did a physical letter to her,
Okay.
mailed by US mail.
Thank you. So-
Did you hear any, she's not at the meeting tonight either. I know you're a little late coming on. Do we need to, can we send someone to check in on her, or is that not our duty, or I don't know?
It might be something that we should do more. It's probably something that we should do because we're caring people, but it's not necessarily a function of the board to pick up, deliver, call, remind the board members that they have a meeting. I want Kathy to be successful by all means, but it's not our job to take her by the hand and lead her any more than it would be my job, Trish, to take you by the hand and say, oh, I'll have staff pick you up so you can come to the meeting. If she, under ADA, if she really asks us to do that, we may have to do that under ADA, but it's not something that we need to suggest to her. She needs to ask us.
And didn't we already approve for her to call in?
Yes, we did, and she didn't do that this evening. She's not done anything. And at some point, and this is really being the bad guy, but at some point, we may have to ask Wayne to ask the Attorney General what we can do about that, because she still has several years on her term. And we are paying her. She is being paid, but she's not doing the job. So where do we go? And what do we do? And as I said, I want her to be successful here. She had been on the board before. She really had some excellent ideas. But since she's been in that accident, I really don't think she can function as well as she had been able to function even 4 years ago. So, or 2 years ago, because she was off the board for 2 years and then ran again. So that's kind of where we are.
Do you have her son or her husband telephone number or not? We
I don't have
can
any of
contact
those
and check and
numbers.
Make sure she's okay.
Kathy would call me every once in a while to talk about her husband or her son, or she was depressed, and then it would get into areas that we couldn't talk about. And so I have blocked her from my Facebook, my email, her telephone numbers. I blocked her from all of that for self-preservation. So I don't have anything.
Yeah, her phone's still working. Every time we call her and send a text message deliverable, but the mailbox cannot leave a message overfull.
Right. So we may want to, she's missed, I think it was 3 meetings her first year, and she's already missed the first 2 this year. That's 5 meetings out of 12, and that's 5 out of 14 meetings.
Yeah, we really
And so,
Anna didn't have one.
concerned about it. Like
I'm
December
sorry, it's
meeting.
5 out of 13 meetings.
December meeting, after the meeting, then she coming to me, coming to Scarlett, talking about it, something. But
Well-
general meeting, since the general meeting, we have noticed see her didn't call back, or we're a little bit concerned about what's
So-
happening.
Wayne, how long would we need to wait before you before we ask you to get, some kind of ruling from the Attorney General.
I think that's in the board's discretion. Again, I don't know, well, in terms of when you ask the question, it's in your discretion.
I mean, we've done everything we can do. And Dr. Shu, I think even the 2 times you did call her, she was either 30 minutes late or later. So even calling to remind her, really didn't work.
Yes, January meeting, after the January meeting, I stopped by drop her W-2. And her roommate, Barry, her ex-husband, something, yeah, said that, I was asked, we worry about her, have not see her come meeting. See, she's in hospital or sick. And he told me she's fine, she's okay, she just locked her indoor. Didn't want to see me, I said, okay, I drop the W-2, leave her here. That's it. That's after the January meeting, when I go into that way.
So maybe we need to wait and see what happens at the March meeting before we ask Wayne. Yes? Yes.
When Dr. Shu went over there, he did drop off a check, because Commissioner Randers had 2 bank accounts before that, they just closed. The check, as of the last time I checked, several days ago, still had not cleared. What I recommended is on a friendship level, just doing a wellness check. I've done one on my father, where you send the sheriff over there, and they ask her to come to the door, produce ID, to see if she's still alive or well, you know, that kind of thing. Because my dad got remarried, he's in his 80s. For about a month, he was not available to any family members, so we did a wellness check, and the sheriff down in Flagler County went to the door and made sure that he came, you know, that he was okay. But just the fact that you got a check for about 3 weeks that's still uncashed, you know, it's kind of concerning.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe that's what we need to have the staff do the first of next week is,
I'll do it, I mean, I'll volunteer to do it.
do a wellness check
Yeah,
with her
call the
with the
sheriff's
right
office.
address and have them come back to us.
In fact, Dana, having his friends at the sheriff's department, said that he'd be willing to initiate it.
Yes, Dana?
As an FDLE certified Leo in the state of Florida, still current, I would suggest that we call the sheriff's office on the non-emergency number, and you say, look, we have a white female at this age, we have not seen, is not answering phone calls, not answering texts, has not cashed a check. We just need a deputy to go by the house, and they'll go knock on the door, and they'll put eyes on her, and they'll check her cognizance and see if there's food and stuff like that, and they'll call back, or to whoever calls, and they'll say, okay, on such and such day we made contact. I mean, based on her history and her age, I would be a little concerned. It's a very simple phone call, and it's a random thing that a cop does. And if she lives here in St. Johns County, and she's not in the city limits, because you have the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, and then you got the St. Augustine Police Department in downtown.
She's in the county.
Yeah, the sheriff, the deputy could swing by and talk to her.
I'm sure Chief Hardwick would be more than happy to do it personally. I mean, he
Right.
would do.
So somebody would do that. So I think we should.
We'll take care next
Just
week.
because of all the health issues, I know it's not our personal responsibility or professional responsibility, but I think we're all like just a little concerned about her safety is all.
So,
So do we need to designate somebody to do that, or?
Yeah, well, next
I
week
could just call them when we're done with our meeting?
we'll call sheriff officer and figure out, well,
so we could do that the first of the week so
yeah.
that, they could get it done the first of the week and then we could get the report
Yeah,
back.
I already informed
And then
everybody.
maybe you could email
Yeah.
all of us with the report,
Okay,
and Wayne, and then we can kind of move forward. Not that I really truly want to see her gone, I just want to see her take the responsibility of being an elected official. Any other comments, concerns? This is the longest meeting we've had in the last 2 years, and I close the meeting.
Thank
Good
you.
night.